across in front of the stumps. It's another full toss, and it has been dispatched. And whatever we're sat here thinking about slower balls and Yorkers, it's not getting through out there in the middle, because Sam Curren has just dished up a juicy full toss.
I want to persevere with him because I want to find a role for him in my team. I think he's so talented.
Just seems to be muddled thinking here at the moment. Pace on, length, and that has gone many a mile. And England are in absolute disarray.
He was 8 years old when I first saw him playing on the outfield at Harare Sports Club, and it was obvious then that he was a supreme talent, and I can't accept that he won't become a great England cricketer.
And Sam Curren is struggling.
It just seems as though he doesn't know how to do it. More importantly, the captain doesn't really understand how to use Sam Curren.
Curren short this time, it goes mid-wicket again, and it's gone all the way again, and that is game, set and match to the West Indies.
These are the worst bowling figures, I think, by an English player with 10 overs.
Yeah.
Because I think Wokes was 10 for 91.
It's
so what did he go
98.
for?
None for 98 for Sam Curren.
What is he? I mean, he does all jobs, and he's asked to do all jobs because he can, but is it to his detriment?
How do you solve a riddle like Sam Curren is the question that we shall be asking. I don't think there is any doubt whatsoever in the minds of fair-minded England watchers and supporters that Sam Curren is a rare talent with both bat and ball. But there is a little bit of a discrepancy, I guess, in terms of his effectiveness in the shortest form of international cricket, i.e. T20. And that of one-day internationals, and perhaps even if you extrapolate that out to the Test team, where he's had some success as an all-rounder in the longest form of the game. And at the moment, Sam is having one of those incredibly rare, for him, blips and dips in form and confidence, or at least he was up until this morning, when he just returned figures of 3 for 33 from 7, and has rather put to bed any early reports of his demise, or the fact that he might not be required for England going forward. So I've got Jared Kimber and Steve Harmison alongside me. We're all very much in agreement that Sam Curren is a rarely talented young player, and that everyone goes through peaks and troughs in terms of form, and at the moment, or it seems to be just crawling out of one, but has had a little bit of a knock in confidence, which has been rare for him in his youthful career so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously talented, but he isn't a natural single side, which is, I'm sure, what we will probably discuss. And so partly the problem with young all-rounders is they often end up doing jobs that they're maybe not ideally suited towards, because you end up it's the Moeen Ali thing, isn't it, of you're going to fill every single different hole that we need you to fill in this side, and you're probably not quite at that level. And I think Sam Curren has a bit of that of, you're going to bowl we're going to need you to bowl in the middle and then at the death. It's like, well, maybe you can get away with him bowling in one of those zones, but if you're making him bowl in both, he's probably going to go for runs at least once in every game he bowls in, even in the games that he bowls in well, not if the opposition don't make it to 40 overs.
Well, indeed. So, I mean, do you have any sort of statistical nuggets for us in terms of sort of why he's been quite so effective? Why was he man of the series, man of the tournament in the last T20 World Cup in India, and what did he do so well then? What was his role, and why was he able to fulfill that role now, and why has he found it more difficult to find a niche for himself in 50 over cricket? And is that his fault, or is that simply because he's kind of filling in for the inadequacies of other parts of the team elsewhere?
So I think at his absolute best was probably when he was used by Chennai, which you remember he would bowl like 2 or 3 overs, not always bowl out. And they set their team up for him to be able to do that. And then for him to be able to bat at number 7, where I think for Chennai he averages 20 with a strike rate of 132. That's fine in T20, right? But in one-day cricket, it's a bit trickier to find that role. And also Chennai built the team around Moeen Ali and Ravi Jadeja and Sam Curren, knowing that they had 3 of them. None of them were going to bowl their 4 overs unless the conditions were in their favour. So that's one of the reasons why he was such a good IPL bowler, was that T20 World Cup when he was outstanding. There's a big difference. I'll talk about his slow balls in a moment, but I think there's also a big difference in ground sizes. So he played the ground dimensions in those Australian games really, really well. So he bowled very straight and very full in Adelaide, for instance, and said, if you want to hit me back over my head for 6, go. And the same, he would bowl short with at the MCG and the other wider grounds. He's very clever at all that sort of stuff. But If you look at him in ODI cricket in the last 3 years, Butch, his average is 13 runs less than a normal opening bowler in the power play, right? So he's minus 13. That's outstanding. Like, you want him in your side. The middle overs, his average is plus 46. Might have slightly changed today, but it's still a lot. I don't think it would have come in all that much today. And at the death, his average is plus 15. So outside of the power, and what you basically have with him is a bowler who is incredibly suited to the power play. We saw today he could swung the ball and then he went to the wobble seam. The ability to do both of those as a left armer is incredible. Outside of that, what is his main skill? And this is the thing I found really interesting. So Gemma found this from on CricViz. So in T20 cricket, his slow ball has an economy of 7.5. In ODI cricket, his economy is 7.96. Now, I've never seen anyone with a higher economy in with the same skill in T20. In one day compared to T20. My guess is in T20 cricket, you're trying to swing quite violently at his slow ball, and because it's quite, especially his back of the hand one, but even his cutter, he's got a chance of getting you when you're trying to slog him. Teams are clearly milking him in ODI cricket if they're scoring at 8 runs and over, which means you've got a guy who bowls at 80 miles an hour, who isn't very tall, who's not deadly accurate for someone of his pace, whose slow ball isn't very good. And I think that is the main problem outside the power play. He has no delivery that he can go to. T20 cricket, he can go to the wide Yorkers, he can play the dimensions of the field and try and get people to scoop the odd one straight up in the air. None of that is happening in one-day cricket. And if you think about it, there's a big difference in the way that you're batting against someone like that. And then if you go to his batting, in ODI cricket, this is List A cricket, sorry. When he bats at number 6, he averages 23 with a strike rate of 77. He can't bat at number 6 for England, right? You want him to bat at number 7. He's got an average of 19 with a strike rate of 86. His actual best batting is at number 8, which is 26 with a strike rate of 110. The problem there is, if you've got a guy who you can't guarantee you 10 overs, you can't bowl him for at least 35 overs of the innings, and then you need him to be able to bowl his 10 overs up front, or for him to be able to bat at number 6 or number 7. He's just not good enough at the weaker skills to get them by. So it ends up, that's why I talked about Chennai at the start, because Chennai built the team around what he could do. You can't do that at international level. You can't not pick him because he's too good.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, so I mean, the big takeaway from that is that, and this perhaps lends itself to talking about some of the other options that England have in terms of building an 11 in terms of their all-rounders, because as Jared has just pointed out, he's not going to bat in the top 6, and ideally you don't really want him to bowl 10 overs out of 50, which means that you have to have other all-rounders who are perhaps stronger in batting, but who are going to be able to bowl maybe, I don't know, half of his allocation in the 11 as well. And as England found out during the World Cup, sort of Liam Livingstone and Moeen Ali, Livingstone and Sam Curren, the two never really made up to a whole, did they? And that was the issue they had. So perhaps the problem is not entirely due to Sam Curren's sort of poor forward blip in form at the moment. It's just simply because they haven't managed to quite find enough high quality all-rounders in order to make all of them work properly, if you see what I mean. They're all having to do sort of like bits and pieces of each other's job and aren't quite doing them well enough.
Yeah, I think that's the massive point with Sam. We look at Sam because we see a young lad who's talented. We want to build a team around. We want to be the best Sam Curren he possibly can be. But I think in the recent past and in the World Cup, you look at somebody like Moeen Ali, for example. We all love Moeen Ali, but for the last 18 months, he's basically told us he hates white ball 50 over bowling. So that's not really helping Sam Curren.
And hasn't really scored any runs either.
Not scored any runs.
Hasn't made 50 for something like 3 years or something.
And you flip Liam Livingstone into the equation, and then all of a sudden we've got 3 of them who we all question, and that this is our best team. These are our best players. But unfortunately, they're not performing well enough, and that's why we're having this conversation, because of what happened in the World Cup. I look at this Sam Curren one, and my theory with Sam is he's very good when he's good. It sounds sort of cliche-ish, but he's very good when he's good, and when he's awful, he is awful. I mean, and I think because of
awful, yeah.
but I think that's mindset from Sam. I think it's mindset from Sam. The last game's a prime example. And this game's to back that up. He started off with a new ball. You've just given us the numbers with a new ball. He started off with a new ball. He was going at 10 and over. He got belted. He never looked like bringing that back. But watching him, watching his body language, watching the way he was bowling, watching his decision making, I know that for a fact what it was like with a bowler, because bearing in mind the record he broke was mine. So I've been in that situation. So I know for a fact that if my first spell's not gone very well, I'm trying to drag it back as much as I can. So I'm trying to bring this back from a run rate point of view, trying all sorts. Maybe he's trying too hard and it's going even worse. And I'm just looking at the captain going, do you really think I should be bowling my 10 here? But unfortunately that's where he was in. But in this, my case in point to back that up is I watched that this afternoon, and for 2.6 overs I thought the same Sam Curren had turned up, because he's opening, his lead shoulder was pulling away too much, too quickly. He was trying to get through his action far too quickly. He wasn't getting it to swing to the right-hander, pushing it across, and that tells you that he's not in tune with his action, and he's possibly trying to put it there because his confidence is not that high. Been there many times where, you know, my left foot's telling me right foot to get in front of it, but it's not going anywhere near it, and then all of a sudden anything could possibly come. Not quite from what Sam's got, but as soon as he took that wicket, all of a sudden, to the right hander he bowled a lot straighter. To the right hander he looked as though he got a little bit of shape, and he held his length. He got that off the back of a wicket, and that for me, when Sam is and that's why I mean, when Sam is good, his confidence is high, and he gets a wicket early, or he goes and belts a few runs, he comes out, and Sam looks invincible. Yeah. And I think for me, the big thing for me with Sam is the human element of Sam is this confident cricketer who can hit sixes, can bowl, decent, runs around in the field. I don't actually think from a confidence point of view he's that confident in the ability that he's got, and I think that's not a criticism of him. I think that's just the way he is as a person. That's not a negative. It's just the human element of Sam Curren. I think this boy is skillful. I want to build my team around this lad, and I think over the course of the last sort of 12 to 18 months, possibly in 50 over cricket, that I think there's a lot of other things gone wrong within the team which haven't helped Sam Curren.
No, I think that's true. What I would say is I do think some of it is technical, though, because I don't think he has the techniques for batting higher in the order. I don't think he has the technique to bowl later in the innings sometime. But the other thing I would say is if you look at Daniel Vettori, Imran Khan, Ravi Jadeja, I know they're all pretty handy players, but a lot of those guys came in with unrefined games, right? But they had one skill that was really good, and that got them in the side. And eventually you knew that Jadeja was going to work out batting. He'd made 2 triple hundreds in first-class cricket. He's at least going to be able to bat at number 7, right? But it takes a long time. And Curren is at that level where his new ball bowling is good enough for him to be in a side. It's getting all those other things and how you improve that. And this sounds weird, but I told Bats this, but Bats wouldn't allow it. The best thing for Sam Curren was to go to another county that wasn't Surrey, where he had to bat at number 4 or number 5. Just get himself a little bit better.
I bet that was popular with Gareth Batty.
Gareth Batty, Surrey coach, just didn't like. I don't know why Stewie doesn't like me.
Why didn't he like that?
But a little point, but something else on this one, Butch, is you've got to be managed well as well. And I think our case in point where we have sat here like two old men and we were being all the modern cricketers have been listening to us today shouting Butcher and Armas, and they're just old, criticising Will Jacks coming on. But you look at the way Sam Curren's numbers are. You look at the way Sam Curren was as a bowler in them first 5 overs. I think a captain, I would say a better captain, would have bowled Sam Curren through 7 or 8 overs. Sam Curren wouldn't have come off after 5. And we wouldn't have captained by numbers. He would have bowled his 6th over, he would have bowled his 7th over, he would have bowled his 8th over, and possibly by that 8th over he might have had 5 for, he might have had 6 for, and he might have bowled the West Indies out for next to nothing. So I think there's an element of that as well.
Yeah, for sure. I understand that. And the other thing that I know from knowing the lad reasonably well is that he is really, really feisty. He's got a terrific sort of competitive spirit. He's very, very tenacious. He'll come at people if you criticise them. He feels that quite deeply, but it's not something that affects him in a negative way. He turns it into something positive. So I don't think that there's any question here that people are sort of writing him off and saying that he doesn't have what it takes, because he has more than what it takes. What it needs perhaps is for for the role to be found, for him to be the best of himself more often, as opposed to being exposed by the things that he's not so good at, which, you know, his new ball bowling, as you've said, the sort of the minus 13 element of his new ball bowling is obviously outstanding. We know he can bowl at the death, but you don't want him to have him bowling a large chunk of overs in the middle, and you don't want to leave him with 4 at the end either. I mean, 2 would probably be about the limit, and that sometimes leaves you looking around for the rest of the 11, say, well, where are we going to make up the shortfall for this all-rounder that isn't quite the all-round package for us yet, which is not to say that he won't be at some point. He's still a very young man. Let's move away from Sam specifically, because it's quite an interesting topic now, because England have got their next assignment is the 2027 Champions Trophy. Managed to fly our way into that. Sorry, 25. Yes, 27 is the World Cup. The 25 Champions Trophy, managed to sneak in through the back door to qualify for that one. But of course, you know, there's the squad that was out at the World Cup recently. Okay, of that on this trip, you've got Butler, Brooke, Curren, Livingston, and Carse, I think, are the only ones that have survived. Oh, and Atkinson, of course, who have survived from that trip on this one. And we knew that this was always going to be sort of a younger squad, blooding new talent, etc., because let's face it, they have to get their one-day cap somewhere, because they're not going to get them playing for their counties. So it was very important that on this tour that as many new faces came in as possible. So if you take it from the World Cup, that there are 6 players that have survived from that. We know that there are probably, I reckon, I mean, Steve, you've probably written out a list here, but I reckon there's probably 5 or 6 that were in that World Cup squad on top of the 6 I've just mentioned, who might not ever play ODIs again. Would you agree with that?
I've got out of the 10 that aren't here, I've got 4 staying in the 50 over setup, and I've got 6 not playing ever again.
Okay, well, who are the 6?
Milan, Stokes, Root, Ali, Wokes, and Willie, obviously, for he's retired. And the ones that I think might be still in with a shout to playing 50 over cricket going forward will be Bairstow, Rashid, Wood, and Topley. Milan, I think that ship sailed now. I think Stokes, I think retired once. I'm not sure about Root. He's the only one either side. Mo and Ali's not wanted to play for a while in 50 over cricket, and I don't think Wokes will come back and play 50 over cricket either.